All right, we are recording. Call the regular meeting of the Salem 6:02. The people please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's a beautiful house. Yeah.
At this point, I'd like to open up the meeting for public comment. If anybody has any questions or concerns they'd like to share with the board, you can come forward to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Bill Keith. I've been here before. This is going to be the last board meeting that I have to attend. I will show up to the school to vote before the budget hearing and for any building propositions that are occurring. I have a couple of items that I would like the board to consider. The month of December, Julie indicated that the building condition survey was going to be done by Mosaic, who was also going to do the repairs. I did call Dr. Parker, superintendent of schools, and asked her if that does not sound like it is maybe unethical or a conflict of interest. Now, I don't know what the laws are, and I haven't heard back from Dr. Parker. But you guys know what the laws are and what you can get away with it. The other issue that I have are questions to the board. As we've all been hearing, the difficulties with the April 1st budget deadline on the news was in the paper. Apparently there may be some building aid reduction. There may be some funding for schools that is getting reduced. At present time, as far as I know, the school has in a special reserve or in a reserve fund, $1.5 million. Am I correct?
A capital reserve, yes.
Okay, capital reserve. And the voters, taxpayers of the district, are the only ones that can approve the spending of that money.
Correct.
I know that you're working on, you have budget meetings, and you're probably dealing with a limited supply of money. It takes so much money to run the buses, pay the teachers, health insurance, gas, you name it. And you may end up a little bit short, which may, hopefully will, impact the taxpayers. All the elderly people that are on fixed income, people that are low income. Don't know how many people like that live in Salem, but I'm sure that there's more than one. I would ask the board, and I know you're gonna tell me this can't be done, to put a proposition at the budget, when you have the budget, hold the budget, to allow the district taxpayers to take some of that money, $1.5 million, a lot of money in interest. I think the interest rates are probably 4 or 5%, so it's probably a little bit more than $1.5 million. Authorize the board to take whatever, $500,000. I mean, you guys are gonna figure it out when you come down to the final nuts and bolts. So what money do we need? How much are we gonna step the taxpayers? And is there any way that we can authorize, that they can authorize you to relieve some of that pain? So those were the only two items. You probably heard on the news the other night, there's a little bit of pushback on purchasing the electric buses. I know people that have electric vehicles. And apparently they don't like cold weather. They get less mileage. Sometimes the chargers don't work. I would hope that maybe there's some other school districts that, will buy a bus first and see what the issues are before we jump into it and then find out that we need to, that there's an issue with the electric buses. So those are the only two items that I had tonight. I can't say, but I do want to tell you, you don't have to worry about me running for the board. I'm not going to do it on the proposition. I'm not going to do it as the writing candidate. But like I said, I will be here to vote on the budget, and I will be here during any new building propositions. And I'm sure that we have some money. Not being a board member, I don't know where all the money is hidden, and neither does the general public. So I'm hoping that there's something that you can do to alleviate any huge increases for the general population. Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to say something to the board? At this time, there is going to be a public comment session at the end of the meeting. But please, if there's anybody who wants to address the board now. Then I'm going to close the open comment session and turn the meeting over to the superintendent for the reports and presentations.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few things to share with the board. I know you may have seen, but I just wanted to just congratulate wrestling or boys wrestling team. They had a great season. They're Class D champions in Section 2, 24th time they've won the section in their program. And we have 2 wrestlers that are moving forward to the state tournament. And so it's a great accomplishment. And recently also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Coach Frank Fraunhofer was also named as the Hall of Fame, Section 2 Wrestling Hall of Fame member of the week as coach. So just really proud of our team. And obviously we have one of our wrestlers here. Great job. It was a great season, and we're just really proud of the boys and also girls. As you know, girls wrestling is new, and so they don't have an official sectionals and state tournament, but they do have a girls state invitational. And one of our wrestlers, Maddie Palulis, she finished 4th in New York State in her weight class. So again, and our wrestler, I just want to give Luke LeBlanc a shout out. So Jonah Stevens from Cambridge and Luke LeBlanc from Salem are both going to the States for their boys. So yes, very exciting. Yes, so congratulations to them. There are a few other topics that normally I would share here with updates, but they are discussion items. So I'm going to hold those for a little later. Related to athletic merger and the survey for the Archway. We'll come back to those a little bit in the meeting. I also wanted to just give an update regarding the budget, and we're in the process of preparing our program budget, which is the biggest portion of our budget. We shared with the board at our recent workshop the administrative and capital portions of the budget, and then we have one left. So that is a big chunk of our budget. We should have some preliminary numbers by the end of the week. It'll give us an idea of where we're at. I will just prepare the board that we anticipate, just looking at our numbers, and a significant increase in some of our special education costs, especially out of district placements. So not really sure what the impact of that will be yet, but that is something that that will be seen when we kind of go through their program budget. I know that there has been some questions about budget preparation. Mr. Keith had a question about the budget and using funds from the capital reserve. I encourage the public to come, since we have a few people here tonight, to those workshops. Hopefully they will be very informative to you in terms of where things are at with the budget. I will say that, our district this year was fortunate that we do not see a significant decrease in our foundation aid, similar to other districts. However, some of that really, is based on, so they have the same save harmless provision, which is in the law currently that states that your foundation aid can be no less than what your foundation is currently. So for example, this year. However, it seems that the governor and her team have proposed to change that and not utilize save harmless. So there's a very complicated formula. I could not repeat all the details of it, but in kind of lay terms, and Karen, if you feel free to jump in, but basically they look at not this year, but last year's foundation aid. And there's a formula that you get the greater of, whatever the CPI and the index that they use. They give a certain percentage of increase on that. So, that, I think, 22-23 was about close to 5.9 million, right around there in foundation aid. So you would get the greater of, the CPI, or what increase on that, or whatever the formula is. And so, this was the first year that we were fully made whole, correct? So we were okay, whereas other districts were made whole previously, and so now they're seeing less because they don't have the save harmless. There were some changes in what they use for the CPI, they calculated it differently. So a lot of districts are being impacted by that. We fortunately, we were shorted a little bit in the formula, but not a significant amount as to other districts. But I do anticipate is if the law holds, if the law does not hold what's currently law and the governor's new formula holds, is upheld in this budget, we could see, I believe, a significant decrease next year, because this is our first year we were made whole. Our enrollment, so usually your enrollment, and there's some other factors that help you get more money in foundation aid, poverty levels, again, it's a very complicated formula, but what I would say is that, even though we did not lose a significant amount of money, our advocacy, is important, in this area, because this could be us in the future at some point. And so we work together as a region on our advocacy. We had a legislative breakfast recently, where, Mr. Thomas and I attended, and we, were able to talk to legislatures. One of the board regions, was there, to really address the legislatures and the challenges that we all will face with this decrease in foundation aid now and in the future. So it's a very important topic. There are some other things that we're also advocating for, which is, EV buses, the strain that it will put on us in our communities, and to take a closer look at all of the implications of EV buses, raising some reimbursement rates for the aidability of our tuition and for our students, and what we contribute to CTE in terms of banking. So there are a lot of other things that impact us that we're going to the legislature and asking them to advocate on behalf of school districts, but the foundation aid is by far the most significant issue, and you'll be seeing a lot of that in the news. There's an article recently, either yesterday or today. I was out of town, so I just saw it on email, but about Schuylerville, and they had the biggest hit. Their hit was 2.2 million. They received some additional building aid and transportation aid, so their net loss was about $1.7 million. But it was a significant amount. Hartford is, I think, losing about $1 million. There are some schools that are losing quite a bit of money, and it's something that we need to keep an eye on in the future. And so we're constantly looking at our efficiencies, and how we can do our business of education efficiently with the taxpayer dollars. So I encourage, I know it's hard to keep up on everything, but we do talk about it openly. We have budget workshops. We talk about a little bit here, but also at our budget workshops so that we can just dedicate a full hour or two to just those budget discussions. So if you need a copy of that, it is on our website, or you can contact the district clerk, Gina Eastman, and she can give you a schedule of our future workshops. Our next budget workshop is on Tuesday, March 6th at 6 p.m. Right across the hall in the team room. So, and my last piece of update was related to EV buses. We're working right now, Karen McGregor and myself, and Joe Wilbur on working with a company that will help us make our 10-year transition plan, and really take a look at, some districts go all in right away, that we're not interested in that, obviously for a lot of reasons. But we do, right now the law is on the books, and there's a timeline on the books, and maybe that will change, but we need to have a plan in the meantime, because it's transitioning your fleet should be very thoughtful, and how we work on our infrastructure and all of those things. So right now, our work with this company called Cornice will be all paid through grants that we are eligible for. So that will be helpful to us, and so probably will take, right now we've applied for the grant. We're waiting to hear. It takes about 6 weeks. But it's anticipated that we should have no issue with getting that. It's just a formality. We don't have to front any of the money. The grant will get paid directly to the company that we're working with. And then we will work with our utility company. They'll take a look at our recent fleet study and collect more information. And then we'll start working on really what that plan looks like. And then once we have that, we'll share that with the board and the community as well at a board meeting.
Now you have one thing
Yes.
to address the concerns of that were spoken at. Yes, that issue is one that's of great concern to all of us sitting around these tables at every school district here. It has been brought up to the legislators. They also are of concern. The governor has dug her heels in. If you want to help, that's the avenue that can help. But it has been brought up numerous times by numerous people sitting at this table and at other school board meetings around the state. But the governor has dug her heels in.
And it would be remiss to think that maybe things will change and not plan. And so right now, we have the opportunity to do this for grant funding. And so we're going to take advantage of that. We'll put together a very comprehensive plan that also will give us more to take to legislators. So a lot of the schools in the region are starting to do that. And then collectively, we can go and say, listen, this is how it impacts our runs, or we need to have X number more buses. We can't get the infrastructure here, or so the peak charging times, when you would charge, is the proper amount of electricity available in our community? How does that affect the community? And so without all of those details, we're just right now really going to legislators saying this is going to be a hardship, but they really want to know, how is it a hardship? And so having more information is power for us. And so we're working on that to be really, I want to be prepared. It is going to probably be a 10-year plan. And, you see some bigger districts that go in. That's not what I would recommend by any means in our community. But we do have to continue the planning. So I know people hear the words EV buses and they hear this discussion or other discussions that we're looking into it. It is just to really be responsible and make sure that we have a plan that if it goes through, that we can afford as a community. So that we can, take advantage of any money that we can and or time that's on our side.
Agreed.
So you probably won't hear too much about it until that's done, and I would say, I think, what did they say, probably a few months, it would take to put that together, so probably towards the end of the school year, early summer. We'll give you some updates on that. And that's all that I have right now. We'll have a few conversations along the way. So, again, I was out of town for a few days, and so I haven't had a chance to check in with David. Do you have any topics for discussion tonight?
Yeah, so I'm very excited for the first unified bowling match. that
Oh,
we
yeah,
have.
it's great.
So many students are excited to have the ability to do that.
Mhm.
And I'll be on the team as well, so I think it's fun to have
Yes.
and to look forward to,
Yes.
so I thought it's nice to have that
Yeah.
program.
We're looking into, so unified bowling is, winter. Spring is unified basketball and, there's- yes, fall is a sport and it sounds quite, fun and interesting. So I know Mr. Moore has been working,
They got some
nice
nice
looking
looking shirts for us tomorrow night
yeah,
too.
oh, really?
They
Yeah,
did.
I've seen them, so that's great. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. So, we appreciate, the coaches as well as everybody who's participating. I think it's a great opportunity for everybody.
Definitely, it's very cool.
Yes, we have quite a few. The last I knew, there were about 30.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, quite exciting. Yes, quite exciting. So, yes, we'll look forward to hearing about, so you'll have some matches under your belt next time we're here, right? Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad you're participating just in time. Transition out of wrestling into bowling. Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, does anybody wish to have something removed from the consent agenda? I am going to ask that the minutes be pulled for a minute and review. It was the last 8.3 opportunity for the board to be heard. It did indicate that I did speak about the mural in high school, but I would like the record to reflect with a little bit more information that it was a concern that was raised by a Salem resident about gender equity, and we discussed different ways that we could equally showcase all of our athletes.
Mhm.
So if there's no objection, if we add that to the, all those in favor, I pulled it, so the consent agenda minus the minutes. I entertain a motion to,
So moved.
motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes with the
So moved.
motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. I'm sorry. We're moving on to our committee reports. The finance committee, I know we've been busy with workshops. I don't know if there's anything new that needs to be.
Just get the workshop,
But we did the workshop.
yeah, the workshop, got a couple of updated numbers for TRS and stuff, but we'll discuss that at our March 6th.
Moving on to the policy committee. We had talked about last month, taking a look at the public expression policy that we were working on in last year. So, what you have, came up, Gina's able to put any, highlighted policies on board docs. I don't know if you noticed that not only did it have a featured meeting, but now it can have featured, policies. So that's the current policy. So we were working on updating it because the policy does allow for public expression, but it gives very little guidance into how that comment session should go. So that was one of the things that we were working on. And we did, you know, it's an important piece of what we do is to offer this opportunity for us to hear from the community. But we did want to actually make it work efficiently for everybody. So we talked about, you know, we do have 2 sessions, that the change in focus, that if we're gonna ask people, because one of the things that's happening, I know I'm kind of jumping around, I apologize, is that we hear from people and then we're trying to follow up, and so we don't have any contact information. So we're gonna be, one of the, things that we talked about in our, policy committee was to have people sign in, leave a preferred, contact information just for follow-up, not to, it won't be kept, and we'll just make sure that, any information that is requested is shared that way. But that we take that opportunity, the first one, to, talk about or hear about things that are on the agenda, and then the second one for any general comments of, that affect the district, in that. So we had talked about kind of breaking that up and changing the focus so that it would be more focused on what we were going to be talking about. So that the contact mission, one of the things that, and these, we looked at a lot of different policies, and that to have supporters to what we're doing, presentations, and we went back and forth. Some of them allow for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to the person, that was making the presentation to the board. I do think it does need to have some limits to it, but 3 minutes seems short. We just wanted to put that out there and people think about how, how much time should be allowed. But when you time it, 3 minutes is give you a long time. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be. So we were talking about that. We were just trying to be, one of the things that happens as a presider is it's difficult to keep the flow of the meeting and that comment session if it's sort of like popcorn, people are kind of talking around, or there's interchange between, different people. So just to kind of streamline how that comment comes to the board, so that the presider, can indicate, how we're doing the time, and that we stay on topic, kind of things. And some of it just goes back to the reflecting on the code of conduct, what kind of behavior that we would be looking to maintain here for meeting decorum, and that the president is responsible for the conduct. And so these are things that we had talked about. We didn't have an opportunity to bring it to the board for a first read and discussion, and so I wanted to move it on to the new policy committee and see if you wanted to take that on or use this, or whether people had some suggestions about how to move it on.
I had a chance to review it very thoroughly, and I didn't have any issues or objections with what's in there. I think it does give us a little more, it sets a few more guardrails up.
And that's really what we were
Yeah.
interested in, because there were some questions about what could be allowed, what could not be allowed, and in that comment section, so we just tried to outline what the expectation would be.
Yeah, I agree with Peter. I think setting up some guidelines here about what can be talked about and what shouldn't be talked about is a good thing. I don't want to discourage anyone from wanting
No,
to speak.
Well, and I think that's what's nice about the first 30 minutes would be something that's in the agenda, if there's something you have question on before we get to that in the agenda. And then the second part, 30 minutes, is what do you have questions about, concerns about in the community, whatever.
And all it
That's
says,
on the agenda.
all it says in the first 30 minutes is priority will be given by the Sunday chat.
Right.
It doesn't say others can't be discussed. It says the
Right.
priorities given. And
Right.
Yeah.
and it's hard to have a discussion and then have a question come up afterwards and not have it been part of the discussion. So that was the intent of that, is to make sure that those, if it was a different thought than we had, that it be considered as part of the
It'd
conversation.
be nice if it doesn't read like legalese. I think this is pretty nice, but if it's kind of leaves it open for folks to know those guardrails and succeed in providing, feedback to the board.
So what we can do is we can, prepare it for a first reading.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. And, we will discuss the two different funds.
So, yeah, because the Erie one, so, BOCES, we have to commit to services, before next year. And so if we're not going to review, so we had discussed last time about, are we keeping Erie one as the policy service, or are we gonna go to NISBA as the policy service? we have a little time, but if we don't line off the Erie one by a certain date and if, well, then we have to pay for it for another year. So we wanna try to have some discussions over the next.
You just got the commitment
Right,
form, so it's
right.
like March 16th.
Right.
Make a decision.
So by the next board meeting, some time to talk about it.
They want their commitments early.
Yeah.
Cause they're getting A cuts.
They're doing their own budgets, yes.
And one of the things when we were looking at the NISBA policy services is that they do offer looking over all of the current policies that we have, making sure that they align with any requirements or laws. And that didn't happen the last time we had a review of our policies. So I thought that was important. Because we want to make sure that whatever we're putting into our policy handbook, that they change laws regularly, and we don't necessarily always catch that, so that, you know, that it does align.
Mhm.
So, we'll just keep, do we need,
So we keep, I think the question was if we go over to NISBA, which service would we
so
want to
have them
subscribe?
the sheets?
Well, what I could do is we can share that with you. I'll share it, one of my reports. You'll have some time to look it over, ask questions, and then that could be a topic for the next meeting as to,
Which one to go?
Make the decision, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That work for everybody?
Cost of subscription to the service.
Right, so it's a similar cost of subscription, but when you switch over, they can do a comprehensive review of all of our current policies. So there's one just to say, you have all the policies you need. Here's some that are recommended you don't have, but they don't look at are all of ours legally defensible, I guess I would say. And so there's another version of review where the attorneys look through them all and also make recommendations. So it's a one-time fee, and then you just have your annual subscription. But when you do a startup, usually that's something that you might want to look at. I know in the past, before I came to the district, the policy committee did their own review, but not necessarily where did we look at, you know, where things missing. Correct.
We just took the new policies that they had a new policy notebook and all of their updated policies. We just checked to see if our policies had been customized to our district.
Yeah.
There was never a check as to whether we were missing any. We didn't. At that point, we were just trying to make sure that the two books aligned. And now I know that those things are pretty critical, so you learn as you go. So,
I think there's some merit to switching over, but it would be in terms of how ISBA is more comprehensive a service in general for a similar price subscription wise. But it's just, do we want to contract with them for one of those reviews as we switch over?
Makes sense.
You know, which one do we want?
Mhm.
So we'll share those with you. I think it would also be important, you know, Gina can there's some nice features in there that they also offer that makes it, easy for the district clerk to be able to share not only with the board, but the community. There are a lot of features, so I think, we could work with Gina too and have her kind of put some of those differences that might not be apparent. That would be helpful, not only to the board, but to the community as well. And, then if you have questions about, kind of the information, or you need more information, then Gina can collect that and have that for the meeting for next conversation.
and since, policy, maintaining policy and supervising policy is one of our main responsibilities, I did find the fact that they would go through and see if we were missing something or if something wasn't aligned correctly. That.
And, we should meet as a policy committee, the subcommittee to meet. Because I'd like to look at one of the transportation policies with the committee. But I also think it would be, if we can arrange it, maybe Gina could come and then go over with the policy committee, the options and just a little more depth. So then the policy committee could also make a recommendation
That'd be appreciated.
to the full board.
Mhm.
So we'll try to get a date for the next few weeks. I know it's busy, but vacationing.
Vacation. And, thank you. And is, the safety committee have any updates?
We haven't met, we'll be meeting again in March.
Right, it's actually supposed to be tomorrow, and without that, everyone should have time for love and romance. And, we don't have a lot of new topics right now. We're working we're just initially starting to work on our workplace violence. Putting that together, we're gonna be getting together our district committee, and so there'll be some report outs for that. And a few other items. So the workplace violence, has its own committee, not the safety committee, but they do have some overlap, so there'll be some sharing there as well. We'll be getting ready to work on our district and to review our district. Open safety plans, get those going.
Thank you. Right, moving on to personnel. Is where we hit the go button, right? Okay, entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Kimberly Carr as the Student and Family Engagement Coordinator effective February 26, 2024. Starting salary will be $58,000 annually to be prorated to start date and 1/200th of step 12 for the current year for up to 20 summer days as approved by the superintendent. Terms and conditions are forthcoming and fingerprints are on file.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second?
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve to extend the leave of absence for Karen Fraunhofer since she has utilized all of her FMLA time. This would be an unpaid leave of absence until June 30th, 2024. Motion by Heidi, second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the resignation for the purpose of retirement from Randall North. His first date of retirement will be July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by Peter, second by Tom. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried. Entertain a motion to accept the resignation for the purpose of retirement. Michael Stalter, his first date of retirement will be July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to waive the 5-month notification requirement for the purpose of retirement for Laurel Keys.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the resignation for the purposes of retirement from Laurel Keys. Her first day of retirement will be July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept the resignation for the purpose of Stephen Dalton. His first day of retirement will be November 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0.
Is that just when he's eligible for November 1st?
Yes. Yeah, so I talked to, Mr. Dalton, so he wanted to give us, as much notice as possible because obviously he teaches, both math and physics. Physics is gonna be a difficult portion of that role to fill, so it gives us time to really look at what our options are. My thought is, if the board is willing, and agreeable to it, that I would like to, post that with similar timing as to replace the other positions. I've talked to Mrs. McGregor. It would be a slight overlap. I still have to, see kind of how it shakes out. But I'd like to then, Mr. Dalton can then still be here, work with that person, because the person could, be teaching, physics for the first time, those types of things. But if we wait, I feel like our opportunity to get a math and or physics teacher would be difficult to wait and say, oh, we're not gonna start until November. So, Mr. Dalton was very agreeable, and he kind of, co-teach with that person and or some of the other, be an extra person in the math department for a few weeks, just to get everybody going so that we get the best opportunity to fill that position. It's very competitive.
Yep.
So, I mean, we'll have more talking to do, certainly, about it, but, that's kind of my thought. If the board is okay about me talking to WADA, I'm, making that work.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Caitlin Fisher as a substitute teacher aide and a substitute cafeteria worker effective January 26, 2024. Fingerprints are on file in the district office.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Jen. All those, was it Heidi? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Monica Santiago as a substitute teacher aide effective January 26, 2024. Fingerprints are on file in the district office.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Drew Haskell as a substitute teacher aide effective January 24, 2024. Fingerprints are on file in the district office. Motion by Heidi,
Second. Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Charity Brzezinski as a substitute school nurse effective January 25th, 2024. Ms. Brzezinski is. Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by
Second.
Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Linda Beatty as a substitute bus driver effective February 14th, 2024. DMV fingerprinting is pending. Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Brendan Holcomb as the varsity boys track and field coach and also the varsity girls track and field coach effective for the 2023-24 school year. These appointments are in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Tom. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Connor West as the varsity baseball coach for the 23-24 school year. This appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter.
It's still a problem with me. I'm a fan.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Mark Eastman as the modified baseball coach for the 23-24 school year. This appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Bridget Husa as the varsity softball coach. This appointment again is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Katie Quack as the JV softball coach for the 23-24 school year. This appointment is again in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Ashley Campbell as the modified softball coach for the 23-24 school year. The appointment is employees at will.
So move.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Heidi. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Julie Myler as the co-coach for the unified bowling for the 23-24 school year. This appointment is in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Todd DeSoto as a co-coach for the unified bowling team for the 23-24 school year. Again, in the capacity of employees at will.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Jason McCullough as a volunteer softball coach at all levels for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
Good.
Heidi? Second,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to rescind the appointment on July 13th, 2023, of Tanya Bounds as the assistant prom coordinator.
So move.
Second.
Sure.
And, okay. If I don't see it, I sometimes don't hear it, sorry. Second by Tom. All those in favor?
Can I just want to add something? So because we're going to the every other year prom, so we're having spring fling, which will still be a very big deal. So there was some, questions brought up about could we, use this person in the capacity of, to help the kids and do the decorations. It's pretty much very similar to prom, only we have it here and we decorate and do all those things. And so, there may be some discussion still with WADA because it's specifically for assistant prom coordinator. So we would have to have a discussion and have an MOA, that would make it, you know,
Names are changed to protect the innocent.
right, just so that it's proper. And I'm not, you know, we had an initial conversation, open to discussing that. I think, we want, you know, really to make, you know, great experiences for the kids, and it is a lot of work, so, so that's why we're rescinding that, but you may see, you know, some discussion about, on the off year, having a spring fling. You know, assistant coordinator or something like that. I'm not sure. We haven't had time to meet. But some conversation about it.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Moving on to action items, entertain a motion to accept the highest bids for the 2015 international bus in the amount of $6,250 and the 2017 international bus in the amount of $18,100.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Entertain a motion to approve the building request from the Salem Area Women's Club to hold the 27th Annual Women's Health Day on May 4th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are also requesting setup time on May 3rd after school hours. They're asking for the use of the auditorium, cafeteria, but not the kitchen, and 6 classrooms.
So move.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Heidi. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the building use request from the Salem Cambridge Youth Field Hockey to use the high school gym and auditorium on February 10th, February 24th, March 9th, and March 23rd, from 1:45 to 4:45 to hold field hockey clinics. Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0.
I bought myself a few hockey sticks this weekend. So I can play with the girls.
Entertain a motion, my problem would be the bending over.
Is that why you needed your own stick? You can use the girls.
Entertain a motion to approve the building use request from the Salem Youth Sports, Little League Baseball and Softball for the use of the baseball and softball fields on evenings and weekends from April through August and mornings and days during the summer break. They're also requesting to use the cafeteria for one night in April for team pictures. They'll be flexible and work with building and grounds. Motion by Heidi.
Second.
Second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the FFA trip to New York State FFA Convention on May the 24th. 24th?
Second through the fourth, right?
Second through the fourth.
I wondered that.
Thank you very much. Second through the 4th of 2024. This trip is held every year and it will be held at the Buffalo Convention Center in Buffalo, New York.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept donation from the Shop off Broadway of $500 for the 8th grade class.
So moved.
Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to accept 2 donations from the Salem Central PTA. The first donation is for $1,000 to the backpack program, and the second donation is for $1,553.23 to teachers that applied for PTA grants.
So move.
Second.
Or to Jack.
Second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0, and we're grateful to everybody who was generous to our. If there's no objections, I'd like to waive the second reading and move to adopt the opioid overdose prevention policy.
Objection.
Entertain a motion to waive the second reading and move to adopt the opioid overdose prevention policy as presented. Motion by Heidi.
Second.
Second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried.
So the my next step will be to work with Needham Risk Management on finalizing a registration and setting up the training. So it's a video training. We'll ask any staff volunteers, faculty or staff, if they want to volunteer to be trained. And then it's just monitored by our nurse, just to make sure that they've completed their training. And so we'll work with Needham on making sure that we've got, all the parts of this, that we're in compliance, and I will give you an update when we're.
Any motions to approve the 2024-2025 school calendar?
So move.
Second.
Peter, second by Ben.
And we just wanted to add for this, right now, the only thing that is not on here are the parent-teacher conferences. We just, Mrs. Record is working with the teachers on really looking at, how do we best move forward? Is it still 3 half days? Is it, does it look the same? Does it look different? Just trying to meet the needs of our families. And so once we have that, have those identified and scheduled, we'll just ask the board to just modify, we'll add those and the board to approve. But it's important, people want to be planning their vacations. I know a lot of times people go away in February break and then they rebook their next vacation. So it's important to, I want for faculty as well as families to be able to plan and see their vacation schedule.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the MOA between the Salem Central School District and the Washington Academy Service Employees Association, or WASIA, to modify section 4.05 differentials and extra trips to include the People Personnel Services Secretary to receive an annual stipend of $1,000 for substitute responsibility.
Second.
Peter, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0.
That's not the job title, her job title is CSE secretary. I just am thinking of her audit and.
So we need to amend that.
We need to amend it to her job title.
So
CSE
CSE secretary.
Appoint her as the CSE secretary.
Right, so we need to go back and
Sorry. I just
revote.
thought-
So do we need to rescind this or?
We just need to change the title
Okay.
in here, and then I'll work with Leslie on just making sure the proper title is in the MOA as well.
Yeah, but is the vote okay even?
I mean,
We have to revote it.
Revote it.
I think you have to rescind
No, it's
it
fine.
and then revote.
I would
We
think
already-
so.
I'm unclear about.
Seems like we'd have to rescind it and then do it with the proper title.
I would.
And before we do that, the proper title is CSE Secretary. Thank you. A motion to rescind previous action.
So moved.
By Heidi,
Second.
second by Peter. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. And entertain a motion to approve the MOA between Salem Central School District and the Washington Academy Service Employees Association to modify section 4.05 differentials and extra trips to include the CSE secretary to receive an annual stipend of $1,000 for substitute responsibilities.
So moved. Peter, I'll take second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
We had to rescind you.
Karen, thank you.
Yeah, I took this over, sorry.
Right. Entertaining motion to approve the following resolution to adopt a deferred compensation plan for employees of the state of New York. Whereas the Salem Central School District wishes to adopt a deferred compensation plan for employees of the state of New York and other participating public jurisdictions, which is called the plan, for voluntary participation of all eligible employees. And whereas the Salem Central School District is a local public employer eligible to adopt the plan pursuant to Section 5 of the state finance law. And whereas the Salem Central School District Revenue Code and Section 5 of the state finance law of the state of New York, and whereas the purpose of the plan is to encourage employees to make and continue careers with the Salem Central School District by providing eligible employees with a convenient and tax-favored method of saving on a regular and long-term basis, and thereby provide for retirement. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the Salem Central School District hereby adopts the plan for the voluntary participation of all eligible employees, and it is further resolved that the appropriate officials of the Salem Central School District are hereby authorized to take such actions and enter such agreements as are required or necessary for the adoption, implementation, and maintenance of the plan. And it is further resolved that the Administrative Service Agency is hereby authorized to file copies of these resolutions and other required documents with the President of the State of New York Civil Service Commission.
So moved.
Motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Heidi. Is this a deferred savings or retirement plan?
It's a retirement plan to New York State. It's a very nice plan and it doesn't have your oversight where you're paying like a third-party administrator. It goes directly to them, so nobody else is administering it. So they contacted us last year and eligible with that. And several of us have looked into it. It's a really nice retirement plan. You don't have to go outside on it for 3 weeks.
Right, okay.
And no cost to the district. It's just another opportunity for you.
Great. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to other business, and we're at the capital project, new referendum discussion.
So I did share with the board and my board report the results of the survey for the Archway. I did put it together in a PowerPoint, so just so the public can see what you are all referring to. So I'm just gonna step over here for a minute and then I'll be back for questions. Yeah, I'll try to make this so you.
Can you say maybe angle it a little?
What? You also have it on the, and you have the packet as well.
I'm gonna give you my whole attention.
Does anybody over there need to look at it?
Muscle it.
Can you all see through my head?
All right, can you all, get my, and anybody's right, can you see that a bit from over there, or feel free to move? If you like, and it's relatively short, but just, so I know that, I appreciate, I think it's been, there's been a lot of good conversation surrounding this, I just concentrate on my password here. So I just wanna, if you, for some reason have not been following this, you know, we did try to reach people in a variety of ways. I did want to share the results so that the board could consider this additional information as we're moving forward to plan the next referendum. So I apologize that it locked me out, so this is taking me a second to get back. For my password again. Right. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna, I'll improvise here. Okay, so let's see. All right, here we go. So just a short little visual. Obviously, we've been discussing for quite a while about mitigating some of the safety and security concerns that have been noted over the years, not only by feedback from faculty, staff, families. As you know, last year we switched to a different risk management consultant, but both of those consultants have brought up some of these concerns in the past. There have been ongoing conversations. And just again, in case you are not up on those conversations, some of the issues and concerns of traffic between the buildings, difficulties regulating visitors and public access to the main building due to the location of the elementary office. So again, we have this difficulty of really, you know, we're trying to talk about this as much as possible without really discussing and really highlighting all of our vulnerabilities for the, you know, safety of our students and faculty and staff. But there are some concerns when people come and they check in at the office in the primary building and then they're walking across. Sometimes people see someone at the door and they don't go and check in the office. So there are a lot of times there were people in the building that may or may not have checked in. And also arrival times, having all of that, our students are coming in on both of those entrances. We don't have a lot of regulation on that main entrance. It's very difficult to ensure that we have vetted all of the people that are entering in our building. I think we do our very best to do a good job with that. And I think our families are very good about respecting and, you know, signing in. But it is a vulnerability, and it is something that we need to be aware of. And so there are a couple of options to do that. Kids are passing throughout the day, high level kids. Again, you know, there are a lot of opportunities for someone to come in to the building through those entrances. So we really want to harden that. And obviously we have concerns for student safety, students passing through, checking into the office, and then walking over if they're in the main building. Safety for kids when there's traffic pulling through there, the buses. parents and kids are a lot of times walking through and between the buses, but it's really just not about the buses. And a lot of people, you know, we kind of hear and see chatter. A lot of times it's not brought to us so that we could have those conversations. So if you know people in the community who, have not reached out to us, it would be great to have a conversation so everyone can understand some of the concerns that we're dealing with and why we're presenting the options that we are. So the purpose of the survey. So this was not intended to be a vote, and I think there was some confusion about that. We had some discussion at our last, we've had some discussions at our previous meetings about what our options are moving forward based on the fact that a referendum was voted down in December. We had heard some chatter that possibly some of that was related to the archway, some of that was related to what was the plan for the buses, and obviously there were probably a variety of reasons that some people voted the way they did, but we felt that it would be remiss to not really ask what people's thoughts were between the two options. So if you were at a previous meeting, we did talk at our last meeting a lot about repurposing portions of the primary building to reduce the amount of students that were there and the amount of student traffic that's going back and forth, or kids coming from the main building having to cross over and go into the primary office, elementary office in the primary building. So we had talked a lot about that, but we really felt we wanted to just get an idea of which option is preferred among the community. And so we did survey community members. We did also survey the faculty and staff. We did do that separately for two reasons. One reason being that I think they obviously have a different view and different perspective of the operations and how we are trying to mitigate some of those safety concerns and what those are, as well as the fact that not all of our faculty and staff members are taxpayers, although we do have a fair portion of our faculty and staff who live in our community, not all of them live in our. That was important to make sure that we separated those sentiments. All right, so again, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this because it was in the survey, but option one was what we discussed and we had proposed in the building project referendum, the capital project referendum in December, to enclose the archway between the primary and main buildings that would secure pedestrian flow of students, faculty, and staff between the buildings. Separate entrance with secure vestibule, which would be provided for visitors to the elementary school office. We didn't put it in there as elementary school office, but there is a chance if we did go with this, there is the option possibly to still change possibly the elementary office to where the superintendent's office is, to swap those office areas. And, you know, one of the things that some of the feedback that we've gotten has been, well, that we should know all the details. And it's really hard ahead of time to know all the details of what everything looks like, because we have to really deal in conceptual at this moment, because we can't ask the architect and to spend taxpayer money on two different versions. It could be quite costly to secure and determine the detailed plans. At this moment, we're putting out a survey. The other piece of it is that as we're having these discussions, people have brought up some good points. And so we've had some of these discussions and, you know, if we did move the elementary office and switch it, then there's really not a lot of need at any time for, you know, unless you're volunteering or have a specific purpose, you're reducing the flow of traffic in the primary building for everybody on a more regular basis. so that, our kids can be kids and be in the building and move freely. But if people are checking in the elementary office on that end of the building, and then they've got to walk through the primary building to then get into the main building, that could be a viable option for us, is to change the elementary office where the majority of the kids or the meeting places might be in the main building. So that's something that we would discuss. So I tried to communicate, try not to hang on the details, but the concept of it, because as we plan the project and we discuss it, there's opportunity for public forums, for public feedback on the details, and some of those things can be tweaked. So, for example, the pedestrian flow. Originally, there was some thought that maybe the public would enter in that archway. And then after more conversations, we realized that that wasn't the best option, and that you could have a separate entrance, just reconfigure that elementary office or whatever office is there, so that the public can enter into a secure vestibule, and have safe entry and be vetted before they come into the main building. So some of these conversations are important to have. And so hopefully people will bring them forth to us so we can consider that as well. And then we have discussed on a number of occasions that we will definitely be meeting all the requirements of the local Historic Preservation Commission, as well as New York State Preservation Office, New York State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, we call that. They have to approve the plans before the project can move forward. So there's definitely will be consistent with the historic nature of our building. And so we've talked a lot about, we're working on that right now, operationally, administratively, about changing how we do drop off and pickup to eliminate the use of the archway driveway. We anticipate that that will occur for next school year. We're working on the details of that. We've shared a little bit of that. Mrs. Record has shared some of the thoughts that we've had about possibly the design of if we reconfigure the elementary. We've gotten some feedback. We've gotten some feedback on the drop off and pickup. Overall, I think the concept of it has been well received within the buildings, but again, we don't have all the details of that yet. And as we move forward and get that turned up, we will do a lot of PR and work with our community and our families so that they know what the new plan is for drop off, pickup, where walkers come in, how that's going to work in the buildings. So again, trying to not think about drop off and bus delivery and pickup is operational and not related to capital work. So trying to really think about what concept is preferred. Option 2 is to leave the archway as is. And again, we won't be using that archway driveway. So there'll be less use of those doorways in general from the public. And then we would repurpose a portion of the primary building to include district offices in the front and early education in the other part. Now, there will still be other services. We'll have, there will still be kids in the building. We have the primary gym there, but just really thinking about the youngest kids, they're always moving with an adult, where kids who are a little older don't always move with an adult through that area. So to reduce the likelihood of that occurring is it keeping the youngest kids there. And then if other kids are going over, they're going over to PE with their teacher, just like they go outside for recess, so that we're ensuring, we're reducing the risk of people accessing the building with students or students letting others into the building. And then there is a consideration for possibly a second nurse's office to be in that building. Again, that's not set in stone, but that's been brought up as a thought. And if we reconfigure a little bit, there would be room over there for a second nurse's office. In grades 1 and 2 would then move over to the main building. similar to, second grade was in the building for the past few years since COVID and, the building project. And this year, the second grade moved back over to the primary to have a pre-K through 2 building. And, the archway driveway will be landscaped. So the community survey result. So this got cut off a little bit, so I tried to put, the role of each person, and so, and we are working on a Q&A. Mrs. Amy Hopper, who is our communications specialist that we work with, she'll be in the building tomorrow, and we're working on starting our new page now that we have some information, related to the planning for the next project, so this will also be shared, so if people, that you're talking to are interested in this, we'll probably have it up by the end of the week, on the website as well. So, and it will also include a Q&A. So some people were calling me up in the community saying, why do you need to know what my role is? Why does that matter? Well, that helps us know as kind of the cross-section of who is responding. And are we communicating with a variety of people, our stakeholders in the school district? One of the things when I became superintendent and I was interviewing, I became superintendent, I heard a lot from the community, our community members who have no children, that they were not receiving a lot of information. And could we do more mailings and could we reach out to other community members besides just sending things home with our students or, sending out an email to our parents. So, this just helps us know that we were reaching a cross-section of our stakeholders in the survey. And as you can see, I think we had a pretty good response level. This probably was just a little under what I think we had for our thought exchange for our strategic planning was close to 300. So I think it was a relatively good participation rate. And so you can just see that we had a fair amount of families with children and also community members that do not have children as well. So I felt like, that we were getting that up there. We did full chart out as well as flash it out on social media. So here were the responses. So remember, option 1 is enclosing the archway. And option 2 is repurposing the primary building. This colors are a little off on here, but it's supposed to be, I think, green, orange.
Red, yellow, blue.
Yeah, but that is supposed to be, yeah, the colors are coming off a little bit. It's supposed to be orange over here on my screen, so I don't want to confuse you by saying orange. So this is, people thought either one would work. So as you can see, in this survey, option 2 was favored by quite a bit, a pretty decent margin. So let's talk about faculty and staff. So faculty and staff did not ask the role because we know the stakeholders that we were surveying. And so this is interesting because this was probably close to, so we have about close to 130 faculty and staff. We just hired a few people, so it was probably just about 130. So you've got probably about a third, a little less than a third responses from our faculty and staff, but of the people who responded, they felt strongly about option 1. So,
I thought something was interesting, and the numbers obviously are not as granular here.
Hey,
but we
guys.
received-
I'm sorry,
Um,
Peter, can you stop for a second? There's side
Yeah.
conversations. It makes it really hard to hear what's going on over here. I'm sorry. Can you guys wait and we would love to hear everybody's comments. It's just really difficult to hear what they're saying when you guys are talking behind us.
One thing I noted when I was going through the breakdown of the numbers, a statistically significant number of parents of kids in the primary building, as well as our faculty who reside here, were in favor of option 1. And I thought that was someone like informative.
And we'll put that, so I didn't share that, but we can add that to the website too, where, because this was anonymous, but, I did sort it for the board, to further consider. I'm gonna just shut this, and fix it over. But I did sort it out so that so you can see what people in what roles voted for option one, voted for option two, or either one, and what, and then also by what their role was, how did they vote? So that you could kind of really get an idea, because I think it's also interesting, right, if you have a child that's in elementary in the primary building, like, how did they feel about that?
Yeah.
So I think that is also interesting and important to consider.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give the board, some information to consider as we,
I just felt
Try to
it might,
lock
I
us
just
out
felt
of
it
the
might
board.
be informative to the community to know that as well.
and we can share that.
Yeah.
If the board would like, I can share those documents as well
Mhm.
on the website.
Thank you.
So, I think there and whether it's tonight or next, in the next meeting or two, is just to stay on the timeline. One of the, if I may just add before we have further discussion, just for, to make sure that, I don't know what the board has heard or seen in the Q&A. So I've got a little bit of a few questions as well about why does it need to be October, right? Why can't we wait longer, have more conversation? And we've been having conversations for, quite a while about this, in a variety of ways. If we move past December, I think December, you get into possible weather issues. We could push it to December and have another month of conversation. I think October ensures that, the conditions are better to get, as many people out to vote as possible, which obviously is important to us, is to, give everybody the opportunity to vote, for the referendum. But if we move past December, so I worked on a tentative timeline with Mosaic, and Schoolhouse in terms of what does that look like for approvals. Right now, this isn't to say in October, December, but right now, New York State Education Department is running 5 to 6 months on the approvals. And then after you get your approvals, then we start working on, the next steps of bidding out, all of those types of things. If we wait beyond that, we're gonna miss another summer opportunity of roofs. So we're already with the referendum getting voted down in December. So originally, if that December vote went through, the target was that we would be able to start our roofs, most likely in 2025, finish the project in 2026. The anticipation is that it will take 2 years to do the roofs. And most of the project, because the majority of the items are summer work that can't be worked on very, effectively or efficiently with students in the building. So you're talking 2 summers of work for some of the things that we're talking about that need to be addressed. If we go to an October vote or December vote, then we're looking now 26, summer 26, summer 27. If we go much beyond that, if state ed takes longer, we might not be able to get to our roofs till 27, summer 27 and 28. So that is the reason for the timeline. And because there were a lot, it's really refining our list from last time for, as we've discussed, just looking at how can we rework this to get voter approval.
Well,
And
to
address
tie this
this.
all into what we were talking about with the survey, can you explain how you want to use the survey information to kind of guide what we want to do for the next referendum?
Right. So we have a lot of the, we have the roofs, we have some of the ADA accessibility, we have the track, we have items that we know are the next priority to complete. If if the archway is not the way to go, the other option is to somehow repurpose the building. We can repurpose the building without a capital project, but it will be inefficient use of the building. For example, if you create district offices, you can take a large classroom or area and you can somewhat repurpose one room into the superintendent's suite, the CSE suite, a business suite. Whereas if you don't do that, you're taking two classrooms, right? One for the office, one for the superintendent, one for the secretary, one for the main office for CSE, one for the director.
And it's very costly.
Mhm,
There's a huge cost to this.
mhm.
And just pulling people out of, the general population of the school is a big deal. And we have to be aware of that.
Mhm.
And also, when I look at the stats, I say, here's the community, here's the teachers. And that's the problem. When you have two different mindsets and they're so far apart, who's more important? It's probably the teachers in my mind, because they're in it every day and they're well trained in risk management. When I talk to a teacher, they say we have to close in the archway. It's not even an option. It's not even a second thought. That's who I have to listen to.
Well, and that's what I was noting from the granular numbers of the survey. That's what we're hearing from the parents of kids that were in that building as well.
Mhm.
So just keep that in mind.
So I think, if the board chooses, right, so if the board chooses and we're going the direction of closing the archway, we have to really help people understand, I think, because people, I think, are just not coming out. So we're gonna have to look for other ways to give them the
I think some of the
information.
concern is where the buses are going. How is the traffic flow gonna change? What is that gonna look like? And maybe we can paint a better picture of what that looks like or what our thoughts are.
I think
But we
want
obviously
some of
don't
those
have-
questions answered.
But that,
But prior to the vote, we could have them going down a
Agreed.
different.
Agreed.
they are going.
They're going next year.
Because,
And that'll be visible.
that is an operational piece, that's not a.
Agreed. But people,
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing, there are concerns that those operational things are holding them back from wanting to do the construction things. So I think that's like, if we can clear, I understand that. But when you're taking that vote and talking about closing in the archway, there was a lot of concern about where the bus is going, where's the bus loop gonna be, where are the people gonna be going? So I think just putting out those operational mapping and like our ideas, this is how operationally we're gonna do this. I think that will help people to make a decision for the next capital
But
project.
it will be done.
But it provides,
We don't-
it provides proof of concept that this could work for us.
Right.
And then we can make it more permanent.
But we previously didn't put that out there is what I was trying to say. So now
That
we need
was
to
a lot of,
clarify
a
it.
lot of the community meeting sessions that came up. What are you gonna do with the buses? Where are the buses gonna
Give
go?
them
But
proof of
no
concept.
matter what we do to the building, the traffic is going to change.
Understood,
And-
but I don't think everybody understood that
Right.
previously.
I think there are a lot of people
But
still
even
don't
if we
understand.
wait until September and we have a vote in October and people can see that it's actually working, we have to wait before that, decide what we're going to do.
Right.
We can't wait until then and have people decide, oh, yeah, now I see what you're talking about.
But I think what Heidi's saying
They
is
always
that,
decide.
what I think Heidi's saying is that while we have a very clear picture in our head, we need to put that picture on paper. We need to put that picture out to the community and say, okay, we've heard your concerns, and this is how your concerns are going to be addressed. Understanding that has nothing to do with capital project, that it's operational and not conceptual, but that's, as you said, October's gonna be too late, or September's gonna be too late. So we need, I think if one of the concerns is, where's my kid gonna be getting on a bus? Am I have to buy mud bunkers for him to come into school? Then we need to ensure that the public understands, that our community understands that that's not the case, that we do know what we do have a plan for that.
And that's what their concerns about the survey were,
Yes.
that people don't understand. And yes, this is a building situation, but they also want to know, how is all of this going to come together?
Right. We've got to shuffle that deck together.
Right, so I think we
Yeah.
just need to be very
Yeah.
clear about where our buses are going, where people are coming in the building, how they're leaving the building,
Mm-hmm.
and those things to help guide. And I know that this is coming before, we're gonna have this all figured out before, but it will help to guide as our thoughts go forward for the project. I think it would have helped guide our survey a little bit more too. If we can put that out there.
Well, the buses aren't going anywhere a whole lot different. I mean, we're.
No, I understand that, but we need
Right,
to.
but I worry that, and we're gonna do that. Obviously, we're gonna do that and we're gonna share that, but again, we just have a few things we're still working out logistically.
Mhm.
You know, but I think I worry and I wonder, how do we get that out that are people thinking that they can approve or not approve where the buses drop off and pick up? Does that make sense? Because I
You have to
think,
feel good about it.
Well, what you're saying makes sense, but I don't think we need to even address it as, here's our option.
This is
how
where
it's going to
I'm
be.
just putting the plan out there. for
Here's
people to
how it's
see.
going to
This is
be.
what
I mean,
we've come up with
it's-
for the buses.
as-
This is how we're gonna fix the
As
archway
all of us
safety.
sitting here are clear, that's gonna happen next year regardless. So let's let the community know what's gonna
Right.
happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
That's all.
still
That's all.
alternating options there. So
Mhm.
if we have a full house of students in the primary building, it may look different than if we only have pre-K and K in there.
Understood.
So now you're putting out different options.
Understood.
So. you're-
These are the options from which the board will choose.
Well, it depends upon what we do with the.
well, but
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying is if we're not,
the board of Ed choosing that transportation
No,
plan,
we don't do that.
that's operational.
well, these are the.
You're going
These
to
are what
approve
we're
the
looking
sidewalk
at.
to go
Right.
in there.
Right.
So, I mean, we need to make, you're right, we need to make it clear that this is, what you're seeing on the website is not for you to vote on whether we're gonna do A or B. This is what is going to happen if the elementary
So
building
if
is still
option one
full.
takes place, this is what we're gonna
Right.
do. If option two takes place, this
Yeah.
is what we're.
This is what-
But it doesn't matter what option, the transportation is going to change, right?
And, really for,
We just need to put it out there.
Yeah.
so this depends in the approval of the sidewalk. But the idea is the students, probably 6 through 12, that's up to elementary. So it's hard to say exactly the grade level until they work with elementary a little more on it, but most likely like grades, at least the high school, maybe 6th grade, will get off in the circle. So it'll be similar drop off as to now. They get off in the
Mhm.
circle, they come around instead of going in the archway driveway. We're gonna put in a sidewalk. We just got a quote, so it's just something, but there'll be a sidewalk all along the elementary driveway instead. There's gonna be it's gotta be 5 foot now, to be ADA compliant. So it'll be a sidewalk all the way down to the end of the building. So right now you only have that little bit of sidewalk towards the end of the building. The walkers and the drop-offs are gonna come into the front of both of those buildings. Again, this is very rough. We have to just look to work with the elementary teachers, so Mrs. Record is just starting to have these conversations. So there's gonna be like little details of like, I can't tell you exactly how they're gonna go out to the buses at dismissal time, but that's where they're gonna, very
But I-
similar again. So then the kids that are gonna be in 3, we'll know this more in another month or two as we're working with them. And they're gonna come in the back, 3, 4,
I
and
mean, just
5.
the traffic change alone is a massive investigation.
What do you mean a traffic
You know, you have
change?
so many people going into that parking lot as there is. Just knowing how
Parking
that
there
looks
at
and
pickup.
feels.
They park all along that.
Yeah.
pickup.
Well, yeah, but you're not supposed to park there. We don't,
But
then
but
we.
you just.
We have no
but-
sidewalks,
but-
so
There has to be an alternative.
Working on that.
I mean,
I just
That's
think
fire.
that having these conversations and letting the public know what we're working on and what our thoughts are important. And I think that even if it's not a permanent fix or it's not absolutely ironclad, these are the options that we're looking at and this is how we would like to do it.
And who's designing this?
Well, I'd be curious to know, and obviously we
Who's like
can't,
a landscape architect or?
obviously we can't know this, but I'd be very curious to hear how many of the 84 people with no ties to the school understand there's already been a change to the bus drop off and pickup. Because, you know, was their selection informed by before knowing that, you know, we're already using the loop over here? Was their selection informed by knowing, because,
Yeah, we started a version of it this year
Right.
already,
Yeah.
Right.
right, by
So-
going to high
so
school.
the question is, would that have changed anybody's mind, saying, well, if it's working now, you know, which it is.
The only difference is we would not go in the archway driveway, we go on the other one,
Understood.
which is, but it's a lot of,
With a much smaller
it's
number
a,
of
but it's
kids.
a lot of, we've got to do a lot of, work
Mhm.
with the school community so that they understand well in advance, starting in June, all through the summer,
Mhm.
a lot of communications. But I also think you're gonna have less people of the public that will go up that driveway if their kids are going in the front doors.
Yep.
So, you know, and I think it's about signage and communication and because really what people are doing and going in those driveways is extremely unsafe. And it's one of the things that we need to stop because people are parking all along there and walking all along there in the driveway. They're coming and walking across in between the buses. It's extremely dangerous
Yeah.
with their children. So, you know, those are the types of things that will be mitigated and eliminated. And you're talking, for the course of, in that driveway, literally 10 minutes of dropping off the kids. And they're going, the buses are already pulling in there anyway. They're already pulling in there to go to the bus garage. So, and most likely they're gonna pull up and probably drop off 3 or 4. Again, we have to work on the specifics. But in that back area, at the end of the primary where there's the ramp and the sidewalk, there'll be 3 or 4 buses drop off the kids. So they're going into most of the buses are going in the back end of the primary or walking across into the back gym entrance. And then they leave and then the last 4 pull up, do the same drop off. So again, you're talking, that's in the course of 10 minutes.
I'm not,
Right.
I'm
So,
not
mean,
meaning to
I'm
be
just
negative
saying
on
for
that.
No, there was just a question
Yeah.
about how does that affect the traffic?
Mhm.
It's not really changing the traffic because the buses are pulling in there anyway. They're just stopping for a second.
Yeah.
About a couple
They're
minutes.
going through the archway currently, aren't they? They go.
They are,
They
they
do,
are.
but they won't, is what she's saying.
Right, but they won't, but other people are going in the driveway that now won't go there.
I've come here for meetings in the morning and I'm not a little guy. And I've been brushed back a few times. This is even after kids are supposed to have already been dropped off. Someone's coming in late, they're in a rush, or they've been here for me and they're in a hurry to get to work or whatever. I look both ways.
Well, and when you come off the edge of this building to that sidewalk right there, when there are cars there, you can't see kids coming off the end of that sidewalk. So the parking there is a bad situation anyways, but I know that's
Yep.
not the point, but
Right,
that will help
it's
some of our
communication.
danger, yeah.
Right.
Some of our danger things, I think.
Yep.
Sharon,
Signage,
kids
we've
are
already
going through the
budgeted for
buses.
signage
Those are
and-
all, yes.
It's,
No, and I just think we have to be careful because we're not making the
Understood.
decision. So that communication should not come from us. That is definitely something that the board should be saying, taking the lead role on. This really is an operational.
But there are
decision.
questions that we're going to be asked.
Right, and we refer them to the superintendent.
and it's something to
It's
take
not our role
very
to make
seriously.
the
Understood.
decision, not the pick up or drop off,
That,
location.
that area near the elementary gym is narrow.
The buses aren't going into there, they're just walking. They're walking they're gonna get dropped off on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's there, and then they're gonna walk.
So they're just gonna go up to that last spot, drop them off and go. There's never gonna be a line of buses. It's gonna.
Well, there
it's
will
gonna
probably-
continue to just that.
There might be a line of buses while there's some buses waiting
For 10
for a
minutes.
few minutes.
But there's that singular drop-off zone that we're talking about.
Probably, and I don't know exactly what the size of it is again, because we need to sit down
Yeah.
still.
Put the buses out there. See?
Yeah, we need to get together, right? So there,
That's how
right.
I see.
But again, I guess, you know, what I would say is that I am charged with the safety and security of everybody on this campus who comes here. And as you can see by the faculty and staff survey, there is quite an understanding among the people that work on this campus in this community that that is not a safe situation for a variety of reasons. And, I understand, that there are some concerns about traffic flow. Do we have all the answers? No. Could we start it for a week and then we might have to go back and tweak it? Yes, possibly. Is that the only way it has to be? No, because if we make an approval, we can put, some maybe loops, or we can do some things to create some efficiencies in the project. But something has to change. And the fact that we have a variety of people that have come in a variety of roles saying that this is dangerous, if someone gets hurt out there, you know, I don't feel comfortable just saying, oh, we're not doing anything.
Yep.
You know, and I think, you know, we've had some discussions, and I've had parents and community members come and give us some great ideas, and I bring them back to the principals and administrators, and we utilize them. And so that's the value of the conversation, having people come up as we're talking about this. You know, that's my hope, is not having hard no's and having these conversations on social media and other places, and not coming and being able to have that conversation. And I guess, how do we bring more people into this room?
Is it unreasonable to ask for an engineering study, a traffic engineering study? Something that with experience in managing traffic? Yes.
But we don't have control over the town roads. So that's a town
It's on
road,
campus.
right? And I mean,
And that
but
costs
then
money.
you're talking about
Yeah.
putting,
So, I mean, everything we're doing here costs money. I'd rather have it done right. Which one's a town road?
That we can control what's on our campus, but nothing like the town, the road here,
No.
road
Lawrence
this way, like, we
Street.
don't have any control over the front of the building, so flow and timing and traffic. I mean, we can try to manage our busing and our drop-offs and things, but we don't know what's gonna be going by at the time that
Yeah.
kids are getting on and off buses.
I think that would do a lot to relieve some anxiety in the community. And to get some professional renderings and a study, especially if we're gonna be closing in the archway. We've changed the traffic pattern for the school like 4 times in the 4 years we've been here. It feels like we have. I mean, just once, maybe for COVID, it changed.
it's
but-
the same as what it was during COVID.
Yeah.
No.
But it would be nice that put the time and energy into it to ensure that we've gotten it right. We're gonna be putting in some infrastructure. Let's get it right. Let's make sure.
Right now, okay, but I guess be aware that you could be delaying this by 1 or 2 years, all of it.
I hope we can find a way to not delay it by 1 or 2 years.
I think
And
we've
it's money.
improved the traffic flow. I think we've improved the bus drop off. I think everything that we've done is working on becoming more safe in the building and in the area. And I think using Needham and, you know, using those groups that we have coming in, monitoring our safety, they will be able to look at traffic patterns and help us with that as well.
But we don't have a lot of options for traffic.
No,
flow.
we don't.
No, we don't.
So doing a study is probably not gonna help us. We're trying to say safety, Needham would be the,
But it's really just that section, we're going to be using the other driveway, we'll only have the other driveway, that's the only other way we can access to the bus garage for the buses to go through. So that is a very finite piece of property that we're talking about improving for the drop-off location, so we're not changing.
But that's the
traffic
problem. It's a finite location and somebody may come in and say, you can't do this unless you open up this, you know, a road down to Stewart's.
But we have to buy that property.
I get that, but I'm just saying, it's a very finite space and there's.
But our buses, so all we're doing is having our buses stop in a different driveway on the way back, so
But
I don't know if it's gonna.
And I don't think you've got a valid point there, because technically, by law, you weren't supposed to be parking over there anyway. That's a no parking zone.
I just want to see a line of buses and cars and people operating successfully and safely, or at least a rendering of it. right? We have measured the size and widths of these vehicles, the average vehicle size, the average.
But the buses will take up that space for 10 minutes. I mean, and they go,
It's not like they're lining up and sitting for 10 or 15 minutes to wait for
once they
somebody to
get
come in,
finished
they're
dropping
getting
kids
dropped
off
off
at
and moving.
the they go right
So
through
they
there.
keep flowing.
If we close it off to car traffic, and what's that mean? Right? You know, all these are.
We're
Well,
not
what car
closing
traffic
it.
needs to get
But I
back
mean-
there? If drop off is out front, teachers have to be there before the buses arrive. So there shouldn't be traffic flow through there is what we're trying to
Gonna
get
be
at.
congestion.
There shouldn't be.
For that 10 minutes.
There's congestion there now.
Yeah, there's congestion there now.
I mean, and if there's a lag, they can wait here on the
Circle.
circle. They don't have to line up in the driveway.
And I do think that the flow out here is much nicer. You know, parents come in, circle around, drop their kids off, the buses come through the circle. I think this is working really nicely.
It's set up.
So I think we just have to work on getting that elementary side doing the same.
But that was also a trial and error.
Agreed,
So we were
agreed.
to.
But elementary parents aren't going to just drop their kids off and drive away, like you
That,
can.
that just looks like it was designed for that purpose. For efficiently getting people out of vehicles and into the school.
That's what they want. We want parents, we want somebody out there, out front, so the parents are dropping their kids off to a teacher or somebody and moving along, not coming into the building in the morning, right? Is that
Mhm.
part of that?
Yeah.
Making that a smooth transition?
So even if, so here's another option, if you don't, if the board recommends and or the direction is to not change the bus traffic, it doesn't mean that we're gonna still continue to let all these kids pass back and forth.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think that we're saying we shouldn't change the bus pattern. I think we're just trying to figure out if you're thinking about it right now, there's a lot of congestion that goes on out front, that side parking lot.
Hmm.
But if we take that congestion away from back there,
Yep.
I think that makes things move smoother. But I mean, obviously it's like over here, you had to do trial and error. We had to talk to parents. We had to tweak it a little bit as we went. So now we're just gonna have to work on it on that driveway. And we do need to figure out how to get all drop-offs in the front of the building rather than people pulling back there to try to drop off. But we were able to do it here with the circle, so I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll be able to do it over there.
No vehicular traffic from
Mm-hmm.
X AM to X.
And I think if we have good signage,
I'm
will
sure
be a
that
big
they'll
help.
get Awesome software for seeing if this is gonna be successful or not. For, I just feel like there's somebody who.
Well, there probably is,
It's
but
a
at this
job.
point,
So.
there probably is, but at this
Yeah,
point,
we're
if
gonna
we tried to
take
hire an engineer to get that done,
$15,000.
yeah,
No.
that's another 15 grand, and then we gotta hire, we gotta.
This is, I
We're probably getting this job done somewhere in 2023.
I think the whole point of
2033.
this conversation was to say that the community
Mhm.
is questioning this.
Mhm.
That's something that
It's
is
important to them.
on the
Just trying to
forefront of
get
their
clarity out
minds.
there for them.
Like
Yeah.
where the bus is gonna go.
Yeah.
That's separate from the archway
Mhm.
right now.
Mhm.
Like we have to, in my opinion, that archway is unsafe. It's, we don't want kids going through there with buses or cars or anything. And like as a teacher who works in a school building, not this one, I mean, it's on the forefront of our minds every single day. Can somebody get in our building? Like, how am I going to make sure that these kids are safe, you know, and you want to know that your building is as safe as it can be. And so, I mean, the archway is a huge safety issue, regardless of the busing issue.
Yeah.
Like, I know that people like, I don't think they're connecting all of those things. I think they say, oh, no, we get rid of the archway. Is it gonna be historically safe? Where are the buses gonna go? Where are the buses gonna go? But like, really, in my mind, it's the safety of the children in the building. And like, unless you're in a building like this every single day, I don't think you can wrap your mind around the fact that like, it's scary out there these days. You're,
I choose to
work in
listen
a
to
school.
teachers.
I would agree. I think the teachers that work here and deal with this every day are the ones that we really need to take the lead from.
And the parents of the kids that reside in that building
Yeah.
are all overwhelmingly in favor of the same thing,
Agreed.
so.
And
All I was trying to do was just get some.
No,
So that people understand that this is something that we're really working through.
We've
Right.
heard, we've heard.
And
your
we are,
questions.
and, you know, and I think having these conversations, I guess I don't want to just rush and put something out there that is not really well thought out and well planned. We're doing this for September and we have some more time and I
I think you should take that
Right.
time.
I don't, you know, so I know people want to know all the details right now, but I'm just really hesitant about putting
Well, and
a
I
lot
think
out
it's not a
there at this
concrete, I
moment.
think that's the thing, you say it's still a work in progress, but this is what our thoughts are at this point, and then people can give thoughts and comments so that maybe something that somebody doesn't think about, somebody else will have thought about, you know, who knows? Maybe there's an engineer that drops their kid off every day and is like, well, you know, if you just tweak this or just tweak that, you might, you know. So just allowing people to be able to say, hey, these are our concerns.
Rob Sutherland stopped me in a store and wanted to tell me all about it.
It could be as much as 10% of the negative vote that was basing it on transportation, on busing, could look at that and say, oh, yeah, I never thought about that. That looks good.
Yes.
I mean,
That was
So-
all I was trying to get out there.
No,
Exactly.
I understand, we are talking about it, we are starting to work on it, it's just,
Mhm. I know it's dangerous
I
to
get it.
make
I know,
this decision when you
a
have
lot of
made that
people, I
decision.
think, wanna know right now,
Yeah.
and people know me, I don't wanna put something out there that is not a thoughtful
Hmm.
plan, and it's not gonna be perfect possibly, but, you know,
Work in
it's,
progress.
there are a variety of people that are involved in this, and, you know, right now it was, okay, could we do this? What would be a quote for putting in sidewalks? We just got that. We're putting, you know, signs into the budget. You know, what would that cost us to have proper signage? And, you know, now we're starting to work on the transportation piece. But it's also budget season. So some of the
Right.
people that we want to plan with, we're working on the budget. So, you know, we've had some initial conversations about really what our option is right now, and the details of that, I think, need to be ironed out a bit. And some people might say, well, let's practice it. I think we want to just have a very solid plan first
Agreed.
before just trying a couple things and causing confusion.
I did see there's some new signage out front on the
Yeah.
archway area that way, like, it's nice to see signage.
Mhm.
I think that does help director.
Yeah.
Especially if you come for like a sporting event, you don't exactly know where you're going. so
Yeah,
those
that's
kind of
something
things are
that
nice
will-
to-
We'll be working on in the project. Is my hope that, you know, that we could have some signage, you know, this is this entrance, bus garage is here, football field this way, athletic fields,
Yes.
you know,
That's
this is the
nice.
high school entrance, you know,
Mhm.
so that people who are visiting know where to go and where to park.
No, I think that's great. And I liked the purple on the signs. I think.
They stand out.
Yeah, they do.
Very nice.
So I guess where do we go from here?
I think continued discussions about what we're thinking and how we're working through things. I think that's the important thing is that people,
Well, which option, you know, within probably by the end of March, we need that, Mosaic's gonna have to start.
my feeling is
Right,
like
working on
Peter
it
and
for
I have said,
pricing.
you gotta go with what the teachers, and you gotta go with
Yeah.
those parents that have the kids in that building.
Yep. And then let's focus on alleviating the concerns of the community. I guess we all agree on number one.
And anytime you get a kid walking from one building to the other, there's the chance that someone's gonna follow them in. Yeah, the most well-meaning child in the world. All they gotta do is they gotta go to the nurse, they're heading that way, and someone grabs that door. You don't know when someone can get in the building, as long as that access is unrestricted.
Well, that's
Don't
just one
happen
of the-
if people can't get in the building.
That's one of the many, that's the.
But I do think we also have to be very careful how we discuss the transportation
Understood.
Mhm.
question with the capital project, because
Oh, yeah.
it is not a referendum, the public referendum, the public's not gonna vote on it.
Mhm.
We are not gonna vote on it. It is an operational decision, so it really, it should not be commingled right now. It is being worked on.
But I
But I
do
think
think people wanted to know what the operational situation was gonna be to help them guide their vote.
If we're gonna change no's to yeses, we need to be able to address that one particular concern.
So it really is, I mean, it's not gonna be I wouldn't imagine a whole lot different at the high school unless they have some plans.
No, I
to
think this
tweak what
works
they're
very
doing.
nicely over here.
But it is just to make that section
Mm-hmm.
on the driveway side
Mhm.
of the elementary a safe and
Mhm.
secure place for
Agreed.
kids to make the transition from the bus to the school building.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, we need to decide, you know, what part of the capital project monies are gonna be put towards, you know,
And
that,
I-
or whether we have enough.
Really,
going
for the transportation piece, it is what component of the capital project could enhance and make that better? I
Yes.
think, we said, well, how much was the sidewalk quote about?
3,500, it wasn't huge.
I thought it was 10. I thought it was 10,000.
We talked about it in
Yeah.
the budget meeting.
It was about,
Yeah, I don't
I
remember.
think, between 10 and 15,000, but
I was confused with. the
that was to
sizing, you're right.
put the sidewalk
Yeah.
from the public sidewalk all the way up. And then also coming across to the front of the primary building from that west side of the private. So that, we can do that, within our means and the general fund means. I think then it's, you know, is there something with, that we can enhance
I
that
think so.
to make it improved, right? You know, like, so if we start in September, October, if there's some bumps in the road, right? Oh, well, it'd be really nice if we just had this. Maybe that's something, then you work with the landscape engineers and say, okay, we're gonna put that in there. But, you know, I think it has the means to work. Really, I think there's logistics on our side of it, our building side. So when it's really, after school, when the kids are dismissing, how do you get the kids out there in an orderly way, like 4 buses at a time? That takes a little work on our side, you know, having some central points like in the winter where kids can line up and get ready and say, okay, buses 1 through 4, here you go, you're going out, type of a thing. So that, some of that is just logistical on our end, and, you know, that may work or change over time. So, you know, I asked Amy Hoffer, she's here tonight. She's good. You know, we've talked about really how do we get the word out? How do we alleviate people's, you know, or how do we answer people's questions? And again, I feel like there are answers to a lot of these questions, but we're not hearing them directly. We hear it from, like, you know, third party, like the third, or, you know, to my friend, you know, I have a teacher coming and said, so-and-so told me they saw this on Facebook. And so really, like, how do we get people to come and ask us these questions and be able to answer them for them? Though that's kind of like the question at this point, is how do we?
And anybody at the table, correct me, I don't think, if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of us are saying we want to be able to tell them what the operational plan is gonna be. What I want to be able to do is say, you know, right now, the high school kids are dropped off in the circle. We are looking at a variety of options, one, that are all going to involve using the driveway entrance towards the bus garage. But if you want more detail, you have to talk to the superintendent about that.
I think that's the
But
important.
rather than saying that it's not part of the capital project, we're not delving into that. And that's gonna get, that's,
I just, people seem to be associating that if we go down the archway and we don't change anything, then that's gonna keep transportation the same.
Mhm.
And
well, it's very easy to tell, no, that's not the
that's
case.
not the case, but they also have to, so
Mhm.
they actually have to ask you a question. I haven't had a lot of questions asked of me.
But we have to come to the table with solutions. And we can't.
But some things are not our.
Not our-
what you're trying to say is some things are not in our purview to give
You
solutions
know, then
for.
we need the people who are in charge of those items to provide solutions.
Right.
In order for us to invest appropriately.
Mhm.
You know, we cannot invest time and energy without knowing what's going to be happening. I've never invested that way.
But I think that's what Julie's trying to tell us right now. Is here's what the concept is.
And I think the concept is more clear tonight. I think
Yes.
after having this discussion, I think
Yeah.
the concept of what our thoughts are, what Julie's thoughts are about how things are gonna change, I think that makes it a lot more clear in my mind as to what's gonna happen.
But I can't paint the picture for every.
So draw one.
Oh, I'm so glad.
You don't have to. You can say, contact Julie Adams.
My husband always says he has to draw the picture for me,
I
because I
know.
don't see it.
With
Some people
lines,
don't see
arrows.
it. Some people do need a picture.
I need a
Just
picture.
carry Julie's phone number out.
She's-
Come to meetings, come send emails. I mean, we'll try to answer questions. That's
Yeah,
how it has to
tell them
work.
the meetings.
If you can't answer the question. Thank you, Jen.
So is it pretty solid? You're leaning to option one?
Tom, or option one, Peter?
Definitely.
Yes, I would say option one.
Option.
And I'm also option one.
Okay. I just need to know in order to give, kind of continue to give you updates and so what I'll do is work on, based on some of the feedback last time, trying to get without giving too much detail, right? Because sometimes things have to change in the construction project. I think that's like the trick is how much detail can we give upfront, but then helping people understand that sometimes that does have to change. I think that was one of the big misunderstandings last time, right? Why certain things changed or done differently than what we said. And so, but I think, when Amy's here, so she's hearing it too, and we have been working a lot more to try to get some additional kind of PR stuff ready for this one.
No, I think that's great.
Probably do a video, do a few.
You're slowly walking up to campus with your new glasses.
I think it's really important that we actually focus on some of the really important things that are, the roofs that we have that are very critical.
Yep.
The project is not just the connector, this is just an actual.
Understood, but that's what
But
we
that's
feel
to be
caused the,
focus,
yeah.
And it's taking up
It
a lot
is,
of
it's a
the energy
huge
agreed.
about the planning.
thing for the
It is
community.
important, but we need to focus on the fact that the roofs need to be done. And there are multiple other things that need to be
Agreed.
addressed, across the campus and inside and out. Because we have our track and
The
greenhouse
ADA
and
compliance.
multiple things in that project that I think people weren't focusing on. So I
Agreed.
think it's important that we put the focus on the big ticket items too.
Agreed.
Any other questions or concerns at this point? So athletics merger update?
So we had our first meeting, as with our, Salem committee with the Cambridge committee. So just as a recap, that Cambridge reached out to us now that we have, the majority of our teams are merged, trying to come together with, really a more, solid agreement of really all the details of the relationship, such as, having one athletic code of conduct, having one coach's handbook. How are we handling, all the expenses, the transportations? I mean, we have a pretty good, verbal agreement on transportation. Sometimes that changes depending on just, who's got drivers and who doesn't. I would tell you now that we are seeking, and we have more merged teams. Sometimes we're merged in the Wasserman, sometimes we're merged in Adirondack. There's been multiple conversations recently with the Adirondack League. I've talked to the, Ken Facine, who's the interim superintendent at Cambridge. And I, talked with, the superintendent who has oversight over the Adirondack League and, I think there was more conversation at the athletic directors meeting, but basically they have flat out told us they're not interested in us being merged with Cambridge and in the Adirondack League. They basically are telling us that we're not interested in seeing you bring all your merged teams here to Adirondack, which I am very disappointed in. I think, we're looking for opportunities for kids to play and be competitive and play at all the levels and to grow and develop. And so, Ann and Heidi are on that committee, so also please add in, but, I'm very disappointed about that. I think, that's another thing for consistency wise, is there's a discussion, should we just be in the Adirondack or should we just be in the Wasserman? Right, again, because it's very it's confusing and who would, you know, we're playing these
Based on
teams
league
for
school,
basketball, we're playing these teams for, you know, football or soccer. So just really having a lot more formal conversations. You know, we've had discussions about,
I think does everybody know that the other alternative is the Wasserman League? So they're
Right.
either Adirondack or Wasserman.
So that's like Schuylerville, Greenwich,
mhm.
maybe Canterbury, I don't know.
There's like, so there are some schools that are probably similar distance to say North Warren and Warrensburg. There might be one more school that's a little further for them. I did just get from the Cambridge, did
So it's-
transportation kind of study of like the schools and what the distance are. It's not really too much difference.
Are they typically
Um,
larger schools that have more competitive?
It's definitely more competitive, but but probably in a lot of the sports kind of, they're just changing the formula. They're gonna there'll be some, we would be more competitive as a combined team as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can see, we've been quite successful in
Yeah.
a lot of our merged teams. So, you know, I think,
Are you actively trying to merge all teams, or are we?
well, basically, we're seeking, next year, we're seeking to merge basketball. I mean, we're not
I have 5
competitive.
people.
Really, we're not trying to.
Call me
No, but they are.
or stop me on the street and say, don't merge basketball.
Okay, so do they have children who are actively playing?
They said,
Because,
because the younger, the youth basketball program is really proud of what they've accomplished, and they have a lot of kids.
Well, when those youth basketball kids come up and are still playing,
there could be, we'll do
then
discussions.
merge the split.
But I will tell you, because every year, it's right now, the way it's designed is you have to have these discussions. You know, you have to have these votes every year. But I will tell you that last year, we had a lot of conversations. The basketball parents are begging me. I mean, they're
It's
But
they're
there's-
getting crushed, they're not competitive, they're not being developed, we have kids, parents, you know, well, it's great if you're in, you know, 8th or 9th grade and you're playing on the varsity. It's not, that they're not, that's not their level,
when
and they're
Mike-
getting beat by 30, 40, 50 points.
When my grandson was involved in the youth basketball program here, I would bring him on a Saturday morning and there'd be 40 kids out there. He's a junior now. How many juniors playing on a varsity team right now?
Not many. And there's no saying, because some of these kids that are doing youth basketball are also doing youth wrestling, or also doing youth whatever. I mean, there's other options out there, so there's no saying by the time they get to high school that
That's the point.
these kids are definitely gonna play basketball, these kids are definitely gonna wrestle, and we have numbers. So
Yeah.
at this
How
point,
many of
it's
those
just
kids
a
are gonna have
matter
a
of
job
making
with it?
sure that we're giving kids opportunities to be able to play and to be competitive.
Basketball's different, that it only needs 5 kids on the court.
Well,
But
but until,
Yes and no.
but again, the season's over now, but we had situations where, there were games where kids, were hurt, they were sick, they had 5 kids, one team played, I believe it was JV, with 4 kids for the entire second half.
Mhm.
And, you know,
Right.
they're tired, they're crushed, they're getting crushed by 40 points.
I think all the.
And they've had great sportsmanship. I'm really proud of them and our coaches, but it's very difficult. I'm gonna tell you,
Nobody wants.
some
the
kids,
crushed.
we've lost some
No.
kids to wrestling because it's individual and they feel like they might be more successful. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. And again, right now, the way it's designed, the section and the rules are that you have to vote every year on it. The boards have to agree. And so if things change, then our situation changes. But when
Right
you're
now.
merged basically we need to have more of a formal type of agreement, who's paying for what, you know? So you've got a superintendent who's changed, and an athletic director's changed, and they sent us a bill for $5,000 for reconditioning of helmets and uniforms, and we didn't budget for that. But what are we gonna do? Say no? We're partners with them. And so really having more of an agreement of how, so that we can plan how to have expenses. I think they approached us. Every time we've gone to them they have said yes.
Agreed.
And so I think we have the obligation to listen to what they have to say and consider, like, having these conversations. Because, you know, if they're looking to have a formal relationship, we're not necessarily the only school that they could have that with. And I think is every merged sport perfect right now? No, it's not. But I think every year we learn and we grow. I think they're great. They're our neighbors, our community partners. A lot of our youth leagues are merged. We had a conversation about, you know, collectively reaching out, you know, really helping our youth leagues be more robust and really fostering that, fostering the theaters. And, you know, when you have two schools working on that, that's awesome.
And there are districts around here who have pushed and said, we don't want to merge because we have this coming up. And when it came time ahead of words, there was not enough to merge with.
Right, and we don't wanna give up opportunities for kids, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
bottom line, just making a more formal agreement and, you know, working out the kinks and working on who's paying for what, I think this just makes it. all
Code of
formalized.
conduct,
Code
right,
of
so
conduct is important.
we have kids on the same team, they both get in trouble for the same thing. And at Cambridge, they get they miss different number of games than our child
Yes.
does. And then that's problematic, right? So having
Agreed.
one athletic code, having one expectation for coaches, right? Like we have a combined expectation. You know, all of those things I think are important to have those discussions about, having some agreements about, you know, how do you decide who pays for what? So having those
Game
conversations.
locations where, you know,
Right.
sealed is used for what?
Right, and so right now, all of our fall sports, they're the lead. And,
Except for.
but except for field hockey, we're the lead. So right now, we're sending everybody down there. Does that make sense? You know, and they brought up, you know, maybe do you have, you know, certain sports are practiced at one versus the other, doing 50-50 on the games,
Mhm.
right? That they brought, you know, like sharing, they just as much as when we're the lead, they want to have games at their
Yeah.
campus, just like we want to have games at ours. So there's really having those discussions. So I thought it was a really, again, please
Very
join
good
in.
meeting.
It was very positive. I was very pleased. I wasn't really sure what to expect. Because again, sometimes you know, like we need them more than they need you. And sometimes that's not, I felt like that a little bit because we've gone to them a lot. But their numbers are now like getting lower but I was worried that we were gonna have to make concessions, you know, they're gonna expect us to make
This is-
concessions,
This is
cause,
more of a partnership,
yeah, it really was,
That's good
an
to
even
hear.
partnership.
yeah,
It's good to hear.
it was good to hear. And, you know, really in reality, we should have merged for track a couple of years ago. Again, what's nice about track is it's individual, kind of kids can compete individually and as a team. But you know, their numbers are also very low in track. And so I think that's really something for next year as well. But I think, you know, I know there are people that are gonna disagree, I know the tradition's important for basketball, but the kids and the parents want to seek a merge. And I think we have to hear that. And I know, there are kids coming up and like every year you're looking at that, right? But
And Cambridge's superintendent, I felt like was really great in saying that he wants to make sure that we're bringing the history of the Cambridge and the Salem, you know, those back when we used to be, rivals
Yeah.
and like bringing that history and making sure that, you know, we know the history from Cambridge and we know the records down there and we know the records from Salem and really making it so that it's not just one school sport, it's both
Right.
schools and we both have those histories. And I think that was a really important conversation too.
Right, and I think, yeah, that's what makes our community so rich with that tradition. And I think it's also important though, is to really look at our kids and their future and their current, you know, opportunities. Because they are, you know, social media, all of these things, you know, they are very close with a lot of these kids in that community and vice versa. And it's different. It is a different time. And I think it's important to hear the needs and the wants of the families and the kids as well.
Agreed.
And I know that, you know, really softball's gonna be the only one that's hanging out there right now for the next year or two, and I don't, you know, so we're kind of keeping an eye on that closely.
It's amazing how much time this takes now. It's a huge undertaking. Just getting these sports on the field, we're in the court.
Yep, and
So
so,
kids, finding coaches, it's a commitment.
right, and it's, you know, it's not easy to get coaches, so you kind of start combining some of those resources. Maybe it's an opportunity to have either, you know, in the short term, because we have coaches identified in certain areas, co-coaches or assistant coaches, so that you're mentoring, right? So it's not necessarily trying to make a cost saver, like if we, you know, if you have, right? So if you can have a coach, an assistant coach, or co-coaches, or how does that work, say for basketball? Now you're mentoring, so we have a lot of great younger people that are interested, but they don't have the experience, or they're nervous, they don't want to necessarily do it themselves. You have this great opportunity to develop future coaches. And I will tell you, there are a few schools that are merged with one school for this sport and another school for this sport, and it's a nightmare for them to manage.
This helps with the logistics. for
It's
sure.
very difficult. I know there's gonna be, you know, and those will be some things we talk about, you know. Again, I don't think in that room there was a concern, so it was a board member, their AD, the high school principal, and superintendent, and then the three of us,
Will.
Tom Graney and Will Moore. And so, and we talked a lot about, you know, so I guess, you know, there's gonna have to be some discussion, you know, like, is the C first, is the S first, does that matter? Is there a different name? I don't know. But I think those are all things that, you know, if there are questions that come up as we're discussing this, that we'll talk about and work through. We're talking about possibly having some subcommittees, so that might draw in some parents, you know, as well, you know, to do like the athletic code of conduct with some coaches and the ADs and the principals and the, you know, coaches handbook and doing some of those things. So getting some feedback. So they have family ID and we have family ID for registration. And that causes a lot of confusion, communication with parents and so why not just have one family ID when, you know?
Communication in
Right.
general is
Yeah.
difficult in merged sports, so trying to
Right.
figure out how to make that work.
Right.
So that's a no-brainer, obviously,
Right.
that sort of consolidation.
Right, but you have to have those understandings because people change. So this interim, you know, he's an interim. I think there's some discussions he may possibly stay another year. I don't know the details of that, but it's, okay. So I didn't want to speak out of
I think so. I think he's.
turn, but there were some discussions that may happen. But, you know, down the road, as we know, people change, right? So you can have the same superintendent for 5 or 10 years, athletic directors change. You want to have some
Formalized.
as opposed to just kind of having handshake agreements to really have some of the details outlined, especially financially. I think that's important as well.
Agreed.
So, you know, the kind of, we discussed the next steps were that we were each coming back, discussing it with the board. You know, are you interested in kind of exploring that further? You know, and coming to, you know, obviously we would kind of be bringing everybody up to date, but really starting to work on kind of some of that would look like.
And some joint
Board's open.
presentations going. forward.
Right, you know, doing some presentations to the community. We talked about possibly doing that together, right? Because some of that like unknown is like here is like, well, oh, that Cambridge, are they really commit, you know, do they really want it? But when you hear them saying, listen, we want the same things you guys want, we want to do it together.
We have to
Right.
prove they don't all have cloven hoofs and.
Right, right, like me going there.
Been merged for a
those
long
type
time.
of things.
Well, there's been enough success.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But so is the board,
Yeah.
support us moving forward to have those conversations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It's all
And
about
again,
opportunities for kids.
Right.
That's what's important.
And common code of conduct, and
Yeah.
it's just a no-brainer.
It just helps to keep the kids all, you know, on the same standard and held the same accountability and.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Keep you guys out of trouble.
He looks like he's big trouble over there.
It might still.
That's true.
Okay, we're good.
At this point, is there anything else that any board member would like to add or bring up? Anything for the board to do that?
I would just like to comment on the results of the geometry exam that were published, and I think. that-
Yes.
I think I speak for myself, I'm sure the rest of the board is just as proud of there's been a lot of naysaying, now let's hear some
Yes.
cheers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was very
Yeah,
good.
if our water reps can make sure, well, they've left, when I was gonna say, they've passed on to the responsible, it's not just the geometry teachers, it's the teachers starting in second grade up that have made it possible for those kids to be less successful. So
Awesome.
you can pass that on.
Yeah, we had great results in algebra and that's been really a credit to the full math department at the
Yes.
high school as well, because, probably, geez, when I first came, they initiated a conversation with me as really taking a hard look at our sequencing, our AIS, what that would look like. It's a very cohesive department, and, so now we're really working on, and we have very solid results, at the high school. I mean, obviously with COVID, we're gonna see some
Oh, yeah.
some challenges coming up. But, really, Mr. Graney's now working with social studies and English to really try to model some of those conversations and really looking at, how we're delivering and our course structure and tweaking and like trying to tweak social studies again a little bit. It's a work in progress, but.
Well, I just wanted
it's
that on the
amazing.
record.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice to see that. Thank you.
Anything else
I love that.
at this point? Covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
Right, so there are some dates coming up,
Winter break.
Horizon.
What is that? Next week?
Always the week with.
Yeah.
We have a budget workshops coming up here on March 5th, and then a regular board meeting on the 20th March. We still will be busy.
Yes.
But enjoy your vacation. So at this point, I'd like to open the meeting up for public comment. If there's anybody here who would like to share a concern or ask a question, if you would come up to the podium for us.
Lori Frost, community member and teacher. And I also wanted to sort of be put out there that it's not just the primary kids coming over for things. Kids are also going over there for gym classes. And aren't they, right? Like other,
Going to
so
the office.
there's lots of, a lot more traffic, I think, than people realize. That was just one little thing there. And emphasize that we already did one connection to a newer building, like it can go the other way too. I don't know. I think it's criminal that we've had kids in wheelchairs who have to go out into the rain.
Yeah.
To get to, lunch or whatever, I can't believe that that's still happening.
Yeah, that wasn't considered
That's
an
not
option.
being emphasized.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't think about it until you live it. Just.
Hi, I'm Meg Adams, community member advocate in the high school. So I appreciate the discussion you had today because I think it is communication. The Archway, I think from a community member, I was someone that did send an email to both the superintendent and Anne. I got one response back. I appreciate that response.
We all read your email.
I figured.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of the problem. I think a lot of community members brought up concerns about traffic, and while I understand that's operational, I completely get it. I work in a field where we have policy and we have operation, right? So, but if we don't talk about operation and concern that community members are bringing up and explain to them, like you talked about today, you're gonna get the same vote. You are. And because people don't understand it.
Yes.
How do we get them to come to us with questions?
I think we need people to talk about the fact when those questions are asked, that vote is not part of it. That no matter what happens, we have to change that bus routine. When questions were asked at those community forums, they weren't answered,
We didn't have an answer.
but that's okay. It's better to say you don't have an answer and that's operational and this has to occur no matter what, than not to say anything at all. Because then it looks like you're hiding. it looks like you're not telling the community something. And if you want this to go, you have to have that dialogue and people to be comfortable in having that dialogue. And I get not wanting to put everything out there. Believe me, I get that. If you knew what I did for work, you would understand that I get that. But if you don't put anything out there, you look like you're hiding and not telling everybody the whole story. So explain it in a larger context, explain it in those community forums. The survey, that didn't explain that no matter what, the buses aren't going that way. Explained, here's the two options, right? It didn't give a larger context to that discussion. There was an opportunity there to do that. But the survey didn't say that.
In the intro, it did talk about that there was a plan that we were working on and change that.
There,
We talked
but
about
it doesn't fully explain it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't fully explain it to the, not that you even had to get into the in-depth that you did tonight, but it doesn't fully explain that no matter what happens with the archway, the buses will change. It doesn't explain that. That's a congestion. I have to tell you, like, I get it, but and I understand that it's a limited time frame, but that driveway in the morning is absolutely a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so what are we showing the public now that we're doing to prevent people from parking now? What are we showing when we're talking about enclosing the archway, right, for safety concerns? And I'm not saying it shouldn't be enclosed. Please don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying I don't thank you all for all that you do, because I couldn't imagine doing it on top of my normal job. But what are we doing to mitigate those safety concerns now as a district? What are we doing? Like, we're talking about switching offices, right? So is there a potential to switch an office now to limit some of that? Who gets access, who doesn't get access? How do you know who has access? How do you know who doesn't? I think those dialogues are the kind of dialogues that we have to have as a community if we want people on board to vote yes. And I understand that a lot of it is operational and has nothing to do with the capital project. But if we don't emphasize what the capital project is truly about and that this stuff is going to occur otherwise, you're not going to get the votes. I think it was pretty clear, right? By how many people didn't either answer the survey. And I will admit I was one of them because I didn't fully understand it. And that voted no. I think if we don't have some just open dialogue, and even like somebody said here, we don't have all the answers. We are trying to tweak. I think the miscommunication too, what your teacher said compared to the community, that is eye-opening, right? They wanted one, the community wanted two. So where do we find that understanding? Where do we gain the community's understanding to what the teachers already know? And how do we get that to them? Maybe we ask the teachers. I don't know, maybe you have, I don't know. But maybe we ask them, what do you suggest? How do you suggest we make this dialogue happen so that people understand what we need to do here? And I appreciate it. Like, as I'm sitting here, I wanted to say that. And the merge sport thing, by the way, I just have to jump to another thing. I'm full agreement. I have a son that does 2 merge sports. It's a very positive thing. Track, I will tell you, even though it's an individual sport, there's a lot of relays our kids can't do. So track meets and invitationals, we can't compete in. So I think it would be, and Cambridge has a smaller track team, so if we could see that opportunity too, just watching, like, because the kids are only allowed to do 4 events. So there's a lot of events that they can't even do. And Brendan, excellent coach, I'm glad to see him, but it's really hard to do field events, sprints, and long distance, boys and girls. So if you merge that, that's another possibility to, like you said, coaching. So I just wanted to say that too.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Is there anybody else who would like to add or a question or a comment to the board? We'll close the public comment session. Are we going through? Yes. For the, yep. Entertain a motion to move into executive session for discussions of select negotiations with WADA and discussions with appointments with a particular person.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We don't anticipate anyone after this.
No action.
No action is. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Right, yeah.